You've got an agenda.
Yeah. And they know that. People are so attuned to that now, too. People are even more attuned, I think.
But as the customer, everything I say is 100% absolute truth.
Right?
There you go.
Even if I found it on Google.
Yeah.
It's got to be true if I'm thinking it.
Before we start the podcast, I got a question for you. Does it bug you that I have these little clips of the interview before the start? Just last week, one of our listeners, and you know who you are, was complaining about this. What do you think? Do you like it? Does it intrigue you to listen to the rest of the podcast? Or do you find it annoying and thinking that, oh no, somehow the podcast is all screwed up and I got stuck in the middle of it? I'd love to know. This is the Sales Babble Podcast, episode 292, Stuff You Can Learn from Door-to-Door Sales, an interview with Zach and Jessica Devries.
Welcome to Sales Babble, the podcast that shares selling secrets for non-sellers. And now your host, Pat Helmers.
Hello, Sales Babblers, and it should be no surprise that I am your host and Selling Secrets Tattletale, Pat Helmers. Today we're going to meet with sellers who don't have a book, who don't coach, who don't have a tool that saves you time or consulting that's going to get you back on track. Nope, today we're going to meet some real salespeople who are sailing the winds of commissions and finding success in the fundamentals of non-pushy sales. Our guest today is Jessica and Zach Devries. They are partners in marriage, but they're not in the same business. They are each sellers in completely different industries, yet bonded together in love and life from a common college internship. Met these guys at a local meetup about a month or so ago, got to know them over dinner, and have brought them into the Fox Build studio to babble and dabble into the essence of building trust. Now, I've been wanting to mix it up here in Sales Babble and get more real salespeople on the podcast, people who are doing it right now, and they really fit the requirements, and they knocked it out of the park. In fact, we babbled for over 2 hours, getting deep into the nuance of sales, all about sales. But don't have fear. I've got pity on you, Sales Babbler. I'm not going to make you listen to 2 hours of this. In fact, we're going to divide it up into 2 sections, this one being about stuff you can learn about door-to-door sales, and the next one about networking and building relationships for business development. So, with no further ado, let's get to it. Welcome, Zach. Welcome, Jessica. Are you ready to babble?
We are.
Yes, we are.
Thanks for having us, Pat.
It's not often I get 2 guests on Sales Babble.
We're glad to be here.
And what's fun about you guys is we actually did dinner, what was that, 2 weeks ago?
Oh, gosh.
3 weeks ago?
2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
We were at the Roundhouse, and I really wasn't certain what we were going to talk about. I thought we were going to talk about podcasting. But we actually ended up talking about sales.
We hoodwinked you. We got you. It's all part of the plan.
And it was a great conversation.
Fascinating conversation. Yeah. I felt like I kept you guys out way too late.
It's good.
It was a ton of conversation. And
covered a lot of ground.
Both of you are in sales, but you don't work for the same companies.
Correct.
Yep.
Maybe, why don't you introduce yourselves? Why don't you say your first name, your last name, and what you do so that people can get your voices out. One's a guy, one's a gal.
Yes.
You want to go first? Jessica?
Sure. So my name's Jessica Devries. I'm a realtor with a company called Southwestern Real Estate in the suburbs of Chicago. I grew up in North Carolina, transplanted to the Chicago suburbs about 6 years ago with this guy right here, with Zach.
Hello.
And we didn't know anybody. We moved here for both of our companies that we still work with. Started from the ground up. And what else?
How do we meet? Just tell them how we met.
Well, we can talk about that later, maybe.
Okay. We'll hold back a little.
I met you originally, Jessica,
yes,
at Aurora Business United.
Yep. I do a lot of networking. So my real estate business, I've been in sales for over a decade now. And with real estate, again, about 6 years in the business. I've built a referral-based business from the ground up. I don't pay for any leads, any of that stuff. I've built it from networking for the past number of years. So going from not knowing a single person, building a referral-based real estate business in an area that you're not familiar with and don't know anybody, to now I've done pretty well. So it's been great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Next.
My name is Zach Devries. I am from West Michigan. I live with my beautiful, wonderful wife in Naperville, Illinois. And I'm a custom clother with a company called Tom James. My office is in Oak Brook. And I work with just about anybody that wears clothing. I save people time by going right to their office. And we size them up with fully bespoke custom clothing. So it's a lot of fun. And I met Jessica doing an internship, a sales internship. You have about a little more than a decade now of direct sales experience. And just excited to be here. It's fun.
So why don't you tell the audience what you guys sold?
Yes. Okay.
Go for it. Go. All you.
So in college, we joined a company that it's actually the oldest direct selling company in the country. They were started in 1855 in Nashville, Tennessee. They started in the Civil War era selling Bibles, and then it switched to educational products. So both Zach and I did 5 summers of selling educational books door to door.
Getting rejected by middle-aged housewives really does a number for your confidence, but it was a great experience because the cool thing about it is everybody thinks, all that rejection, compounded, like, man, that just must break you down. But it's really neat because it actually does the opposite. It really builds up your confidence. And I think for anybody in sales, that's such an important thing to go through that much rejection to really learn what you're made of is a pretty amazing experience. It's pretty cool.
See, but that seems counterintuitive to me. You would think being rejected a lot, it would make you very low. You would think it would totally bum you out and you wouldn't want to go to work.
Mm-hmm. Well, if I may tell a little story. So before I did that internship, I was actually fraternity president at my college, my alma mater, Grand Valley State in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I remember when I got recruited to do the Southwestern internship, I remember my student manager, the guy that recruited me, telling me, he goes, Zach, the best thing about this internship for you is going to be that it's going to strip you down. Get rid of all of this stuff. Oh, I know. It's going to get rid of all this stuff that makes.
Isn't that what the Marines
confident.
do?
Whoa.
Yeah. Basically, right? Basically. But he was absolutely right. He's like, all these things that you have in your life that you think make you confident are not really those things. They're just outside. Where real confidence comes from, it comes from the inside. And going through an experience like that, that's when you really find that, and it really builds up who you are and what you're made of.
To your point, Pat. So you said you would think that it's counterintuitive because it builds you down. Like, how does it actually bring you up? Well, it's resiliency. So it's staying positive through adversity. So there's a lot of training with that. So it wasn't just go knock on doors and get rejected and you're going to be good.
It's amazing training.
Toss you into deep water.
Good luck. The sales training was some of the best. I mean, we do a week. So all students, 2,500 students or more from really around the world come to Nashville before the summer starts for a week-long training session. And there's like Fortune 500 companies that pay big bucks to come and sit in on this training. But us as college students, we get it for free in quotations. We go work our butts off. But the sales training is all of the mentality because that's most of what it is, right? So if you go get rejected, doesn't mean you're going to be set up for success and be able to pick yourself back up. But it's the mental stamina and resiliency that you learn and that we were able to learn of how to stay positive through adversity, how to treat people right, how to leave everyone in a good mood when you're getting rejected all day long, how to ask the right questions and consultative selling, which is what people like. People like to buy, but they don't like to be sold. So it's listening more than you talk. All those types of things is what we learned in the training. And so that helped equip us for dealing with the rejection.
What do you think was what was the big takeaway that you got from that education about this resiliency and how to deal with Like, how did people commonly say, no, I'm not interested?
I'm not interested.
The cool thing is
Yeah.
everything's door-to-door sales. Oh my gosh, like, the rejection you guys must get is just doors slammed on your face. I mean, I can count in one summer on one, maybe two hands the amount of time that's ever happened. The coolest thing about this program is that you learn across the country, people are cool.
And they're good.
And they're good, and they care about the same things. They care about their kids. They care about being nice, law-abiding citizens. Like, people are good. And that was what's so fun about this program. It was such an adventure. But more often than not, it was just, thanks, I'm not interested. We'd hear a lot of, we've got the books, or, schools are great, all that stuff. Yeah.
It's like anything. People don't know what they don't know. So naturally, it's almost like people go to school to get programmed that if somebody's trying to sell you something, you should say not interested. So really, it's a program response that everybody has. I have it, like, I catch myself when you don't know what somebody's trying to sell you. Naturally, your response is, well, I'm not interested.
Because you're actually not.
Well, yes.
It's not on the top of your mind, right? Somebody out of the blue, you're trying to vacuum your floor. If somebody out of the blue knocks on your door, and you're like, the last thing they're thinking about is, oh, I need to get some educational material for my child.
Exactly. However, they're not interested until they understand because they don't know what they're not interested in. And I think that's part of it, is it's being able to catch them in the middle of life. When you're going door to door, I mean, it's invasive. It can be very invasive. You're catching them and they're behind the scenes. Like, this is their real life, behind closed doors. And that can be very invasive. So it's makes total sense to me that people naturally be like, I'm not interested. Like, you're opening my door. But they don't know what they're not interested in a lot of times. So it's being able to be pleasantly persistent enough to get to that point to where they know what it actually is. And then they really know, and then they can say no if they want, and you leave them in a good mood. But if they don't know what you're selling or what it actually provides, value for, it's
I like that.
Piece.
Pleasantly persistent.
Well, you're just constantly changing people's paradigms. It's like with what I do. Guys don't walk around all day thinking about how much they hate the shirt that they're in and how baggy it is, or how much they hate shopping. And when I go and I sit with them, I have to kind of coax out of them those feelings, those pain, those areas of, wow, I don't like to shop. And if there's an alternative in terms of being able to get great fitting clothing that I didn't have to go into a store, didn't have to fight with parking, I could actually enjoy my Saturday. All right, this sounds good. So what we were learning to do in that job was just changing people's paradigms multiple times a day, sitting down, finding out what's important to them, uncovering needs and pains, things like that, and then demonstrating how our books and what we were selling could solve that. So that training right there was just invaluable and really set us up for what we're doing right now.
Last week, I mailed out a certificate of completion to a student of the Selling with Confidence online course. This always makes me smile. This class helps people who are uncomfortable cold calling, cold emailing, networking, and closing sales. They're okay with the presentation, but all that other stuff, man, that's hard. Consider the possibility of actually being excited to attend a networking event, saying hi to strangers, listening to their challenges, and finding someone you can really, really help. Selling with Confidence solves that problem. All in the same style as the Sales Babble podcast, yet with homework, assignments, and worksheets that provide you a practical roadmap for your selling success. Skeptical? I don't blame you. Check out the nice things people say about it on LinkedIn, or send me an email, or hey, set up a phone call. It's easy to do. Go to www.salesbabble.com and let's start selling with confidence today. Where do you think people go wrong when it comes to selling?
That's a great question. There's a lot of misconceptions of what good selling is. You've talked a lot about it on your podcast, and many people have. I think where most people go wrong is they think it's kind of the old school. We were talking about this at dinner with you. It's the old school thought of what you need to do to be good at sales. And it's the manipulative, trying to get people, this famous quote, selling, you're so good at sales, you could sell ice to an Eskimo. I actually think if you're really good at sales, you may not be very good at selling ice to an Eskimo, because good sales is you have a value-added service or product, and you want a consumer that has a need. And there's plenty of consumers that don't have that need for that product or service. So is that really good selling if you're selling someone something they don't need? No. So that's the old school thought that everybody thinks is good selling. You can twist somebody's arm and manipulate them to buy your product or service, but that's just not true. At least I don't think that's true.
Yeah. And that was the cool thing we learned about this, this job we did. It was more that consultative approach, more so the listening, asking great questions. It's something that you do great. You're very quiet. You listen to people that come in here and that you're interviewing them. And I think probably the other big thing, I think that's majority of it right there, what Jess was talking about. I think the other big thing is, as a salesperson, you always know what your product can do, the services it can correct, all these things, the pain that it can solve basically. And a lot of times when we're asking questions, when we're doing discovery, we want to jump in right away and we want to say, well, we can solve that for you. We can fix that. I can do that. This problem, we can take care of it for you. This is going to do it. You're going to love this. And the problem is that's too soon. You have to let the pain come out. You have to let people really, understand and actually live a little bit and like, wow, that really is frustrating. I don't think about that enough, Zach. And then even then you don't even say, hey, this can solve that. You go, great. Well, let me show you a little bit about what my product can do. And the idea there is you need to let people solve their own problems. You want to help them, but you don't want to just come in and slap a solution on it.
What's that quote or that saying that people believe 50% of what you say and 100% of what they think or say?
Oh.
Right? It's that same concept.
Absolutely. And just, and the idea there is, as a salesperson, everything that you say is suspect.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Because you're trying to sell something.
Now, everything that their friends say.
You're trying to scam me.
What are you selling me?
You've got an agenda.
Yeah. And they know that. People are so attuned to that now, too. People are even more attuned, I think.
But as the customer, everything I say is 100% absolute truth.
Right?
There you go.
Even if I found it on Google.
Yeah.
It's got to be true if I'm thinking it. Yeah.
That was a good one. That was good.
So let's move to your existing jobs.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like selling real estate? What makes that different than selling books?
It's a little different. Price point's a little different. The books were only about $60 a piece.
You're actually typing in a code to get indoors now too, honey. You're not exactly
I know, I'm actually
knocking on them.
Legally entering and able to open the doors myself. But it's different and it's not. It's kind of interesting. And it's fascinating because the longer we do something and the longer we're in some trade or industry, the more we forget the basics and the fundamentals. And there's so many times where, I've caught myself and gone, oh, you know what? This is just like selling books. And in a larger scale, you realize a lot of things are pretty simple and a lot of things are about the basics and the fundamentals. And then we kind of complicate it and make it more than it actually is. But it's always about the basics and the fundamentals. So how real estate is different than books, I mean, obviously the product is very different. But you're still filling a need. With selling books, it was, again, asking good questions, listening, figuring out what is the need and can I fill it? It's the same in real estate. I think it's the same in any sales career or industry. With me, if I'm working with a buyer or seller, it's, again, figuring out what is their need, what are their goals, and really listening for that and seeing how I can help service and help them achieve those goals and fulfill those needs.
You were saying that you did a lot of networking.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that? How do you convert like a network meeting? How do you convert that into qualified leads?
Yeah, great question. Well, it's not that simple. So again, moving to the area and not knowing anybody, I was just, the way that I built it is referral based. So I was really intentional about building authentic, quality relationships and being real with people. And, maybe it's a little bit unique for real estate, but I think it can transfer to a lot of businesses. So I can just speak with real estate. But my goal was not going in with the intention of meeting people and going, hi, oh, hey, what can you do for me? I never, ever had that thought. I really genuinely wanted to build relationships with good people, like-minded people. And I knew naturally over time, people buy and work with people that they like and trust. So if you build a solid foundation of a relationship and the authenticity is there, my goal, very simply put, is to be the person that those people I built relationships with think of when they know someone wanting to buy or sell a house. So if I can stay top of mind and people, anytime they have a friend or family member that's, mentions, oh, I might be wanting to list my house next spring. I, don't even know where to start. I want to be that person that person goes, oh my gosh, Jessica,
She's your gal.
She's your girl. Give her a call. She's going to be able to help guide you through the process, tell you what you need to do, save you money so you don't spend money on remodel projects that you actually didn't need to do.
Right.
Like this is what it's about. So that was my goal, was I wanted to build authentic relationships, and then I wanted to be top of mind. And, intentionally asking people, hey, by the way, do you have a realtor that you already love that you would refer friends and family to that are thinking of buying or selling, or not so much? And I would ask that question and feel it out. I'm not just going to ask somebody that the first time I meet them. But over time, when I built a relationship and I feel like, okay, we like each other and it's a mutual thing, do you have somebody that you love or not so much? Okay, well, I'd love to be your person and keep in touch and, with real estate things. So that's how I did it. And I still do it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Clothing is a lot different than books.
It is. Absolutely.
And you said something, actually, I want to disagree with, that said, anybody that wears clothes is my customer. That's not true.
That's a fun tagline we say.
But you have a very high-end customer.
I do. Yep. So it is custom clothing. So fully bespoke suits. Well, we carry casual.
What do you mean by
wear.
bespoke?
So bespoke is the traditional way that suits are made. That's basically done by hand. And a lot of our suits, we have suits that are done 100% by hand, all the way down to about 50% by hand. And I tell people, just kind of quick say something here about that. The hand workmanship is important. It's like, when you played baseball when you were a kid and you got that new baseball glove.
You don't fit right.
First time it doesn't, right? It's like, ugh. But your dad probably said, hey, son, give it some time. It's going to mold to your hand. And the reason that is that leather in there, it also has a lot of hand workmanship in it, which causes it to mold to your hand. Well, a nice, well-fitting suit will do the exact same. So that is why some people go, man, I don't understand why you're spending, $1,200 for a custom suit. Why is that? It's because that hand workmanship that causes it to form and mold to you fits unlike anything else out there. So yeah, our clientele, I would definitely say, is, going to be a higher end client. And the interesting about what we do is it is a luxury item for the most part that I'm selling. I definitely have guys that see it more as a, commodity just because they're in suits and everything, but it's a different type of sale being a luxury item.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day when I was selling software to superintendents, we dressed in suits all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It was I didn't think too hard on it. I had 3 suits and I just cycled through them all the time.
Yep.
You know, and but the idea that, yeah, if it's a suit that I don't wear suits a lot, maybe a person's in that space, except for weddings and funerals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would be a luxury.
Well, we definitely have, attorneys, bankers, financial advisors, where we're doing a lot of, just the day-to-day workhorse suits. And those are, again, going to be phenomenal suits for people. And we do a lot of sport coats. We do jeans, dress shirts. So we have a lot of that in our market too.
Really?
Yep. We do a lot of, really the fastest growing niche is called smart casual, which is basically actually what I'm wearing right now. Thank you.
Yeah.
My lovely wife is pointing that out, actually.
Well, this does look really sharp.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding you, because I actually noticed it earlier and go,
Yeah.
that looks really sharp.
They do all that.
This is all Tom James. This is all us. Yeah.
And I took a picture. We'll stick it in the show notes so people can see what you're looking like.
You too can wear this.
Maybe we'll take a picture of you guys standing up next to each other. Or,
Well, just him. You can just take a picture of him.
But
yeah,
Yeah.
that's sharp.
yeah. Well, and again, the fastest niche for us in the suburbs is what we call smart casual, which is where you're professional, yet you're down to earth, you're approachable. And a lot of guys like that because they don't want to go into a meeting where they're way over the top dressed. And we understand that, obviously. So doing more of the smart casual, sport coat jeans, dress shirts, slacks, that kind of look, we're doing a lot of that. But yeah, being a luxury item, it definitely was an adjustment for me to learn how to sell that. And again, what you're doing is, and a lot of times my job, you're changing people's paradigms. Because so many guys, we kind of do this thing where we put everybody in our family ahead of us and we're on the bottom of the totem pole. We will, let our wife go on a shopping spree. Kids need stuff. We'll get it for them. Hockey, whatever. We're paying for it. And we kind of do this thing where we kind of put ourselves on the bottom of the totem pole. Everybody else above me, everybody else gets what they want. No, that's fine. I'll just go work. And one of the fun things with my job is I love getting to let dads, husbands, those guys spoil themselves. And what I'm doing is you're changing people's paradigm. You're saying, no, you deserve this. You're in a suit every single day. You might as well get something that's comfortable and something that looks great. You might as well get something that, hey, makes you stand out a little bit. Don't dress for the job you want right now. Dress for the job that you...
Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun. It's definitely an interesting job, but I love it. And, most of our business is repeat business. So getting to work with my existing clients again and again, guys that have really just become really good friends of mine now. So it's a lot of fun.
What are the objections you have to deal with all the time?
I get a lot of the, I would say I get a lot of, I'm just not wearing suits, or I'm not a big shopper, or I don't like clothing. A lot of those. And usually I answer with, hey, you're exactly the guy that we want to talk to. Because we don't really cater to too many guys that love clothing. Our business model is built around saving people time, coming directly to you, getting you clothing that fits you great, saving you a trip to the store. So a lot of times I tell people, hey, you're exactly the person I want to talk to. But more than anything, I just want to meet you. I'm not here to sell you a whole new wardrobe or anything. I just want to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I just want people to know there's other options out there other than having to be dragged to the store, fight for a parking spot, all this hassle, trying things on again and again. There's a simpler way. There's a better way. So
cool. We have a lot more to talk about yet.
We babble a lot.
We babble. Would it be okay? Would you guys be interested in coming back next week? Would that be okay?
Yeah,
Sure.
we could do that.
Stick around and do another
Sure thing.
Do another segment. Would that be cool?
Sure
Let's do
thing.
it.
Yes.
Awesome. People want to bump into you. They want to find you online, Zach. Where would they go?
So you can find me at a couple different places. LinkedIn, Zachary Devries. I also have a bio page through Tom James. If you search tomjames.com, Zach Devries, I will pop up. And then, of course, I'm on Instagram too. So I post a lot of really cool fashion tips, clothing ideas, fun stuff, photos of our cats. I
don't follow you on Instagram.
You need to.
I am very limited what I follow on Instagram. Little trailers, people who do great photography.
Ooh.
That's
Little trailers.
little trailers.
I follow cool stuff like that too, like a little woodworking.
Yeah.
This.
I got no business on Instagram. I don't want to put business. You're not gonna see sales babble crap on Instagram.
And it's just fun. And my Instagram is ZD Haberdash. So
I'll stick it in the show notes.
Awesome.
And Jessica,
Yes.
people want to find you.
Mm-hmm. Well, really, they can go on Google, Yelp, Zillow. I have a Facebook business page.
Oh.
Okay. But best way is probably just to send me an email for direct, either Facebook business page, send me a message, or shoot me an email.
What's your email address?
Well, it's jdefries@southwestern.com. I married a Dutchman, so DeFries is a little complicated for spelling, so we'll definitely want that in the show
It's
notes.
Devries.
Yes, but most people
Bingo.
think it's an F, but it's a V.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Tricky
Difference.
Dutch.
Oh, you see, but I studied German,
So you know.
and I used to teach in the Netherlands.
Oh, so then,
So,
okay.
I
Most
my-
people
my-
don't have that experience.
when I look at Dutch, I'm going, oh, yeah, that's what it is.
Dankeschön.
Yeah. Yeah, I was working for a South African the other day, and Afrikaans is very close to.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
The effort they pronounced Devries in South Africa. Devries. I had a South African secretary one time. Devries.
This has been fun.
Yeah. Thank you for having us
Pat.
on.
Yeah, thank
This
you.
has been a lot of
great.
fun. This has been great.
We got to talk about ourselves a lot, and that's
Yeah.
always great,
We need to do this again.
Would
cool.
love that.
And thank you
We
for
went
just
so long.
being such a good podcast host. Seriously.
Seriously.
You do a great job. You
Yeah,
really do.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
I'm trying. I think people are going to like this. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good one.
Good.
Very cool.
All right.
Now, next week, we're going to be talking about networking and building relationships. Both Zach and Jessica have some processes and rules that they use for business development. They're not cold calling. They're not knocking on doors. They're leveraging the networks that they've built, which, if you think about it, is how they got on this podcast. It's my hope it will drive some listeners to reach out to them and maybe buy a house or a suit or who knows, an introduction that could make a world of difference. And as I always do, if you go to the show notes, you can learn all about them at www.salesbabble.com/291. Folks, that's all I've got for this week. Until next week, take care and have a highly successful and a profitable selling day.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Babble podcast. Find us at www.salesbabble.com.
This is a production of Habanero Media.